had no path in business. I had no idea what I was going to do.
I have the absolute pleasure, Billy Farrell.
I grew up in a housing scheme in Scotland. Basically, it could be summed up with drink, drugs, gangs. It was a very, very, very tough place to grow up. A lot of violence, a lot of trouble, and I was in the thick of it. That was my life. I got into a lot of debt trying to figure this stuff out because I didn't have the education. I was thrown out of school. Didn't know what I was doing, had no support, mentorship. And I paid this life coach to help me find what I should be doing with myself. And he couldn't see a path for me. It's been hard work, a lot of peaks and troughs, a lot of difficult moments, a lot of moments where you think you're flying high and then life teaches you a few lessons. I started to just see that so many folk were out there portraying this idea of what success should look like, and I realised at the time that I was doing the similar kind of thing. I was putting across the best side of what was going on rather than the reality of it, and I just got so fucked off with it. I was drinking every single night, fighting in nightclubs, getting into all sorts of shit, so I fucked my entire life up that night.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So before we begin today's podcast, I'd like to say a big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Casita Properties, the UK leading property company when it comes to off-market, discreet buy-to-let sales. All the links will be in the description below. I have the absolute pleasure, someone I've followed and then known for some time now, Billy Farrell. It's been, I think it's fair to say, it's been a long time coming, right?
Yep,
and absolutely. You're here now. So it's a pleasure to have you on, mate.
Pleasure.
We're going to dive into God knows what. We're going to cover off a lot. So we're going to keep it raw. We're going to keep it real. But for those that may not know yet, just give us that 30-second overview of who you are and what you do.
Okay, 30-second overview. Went into business 2004, fucked it up, went bankrupt in 2008, got started again, and then worked very, very hard to get back up to a good point. Since then, I've been involved in everything from mortgages to advertising to marketing and property. I've been involved in a lot of companies over the years, still involved in a lot of companies, and the main focus is media and marketing.
I remember watching you specifically on LinkedIn, long time ago. You were all, I think you were, every time I open up LinkedIn, you were there, popping up all the time video. I think I remember you in the, I don't know what car you were driving at the time, but there was just videos of you always in the car doing the was it the early drive in the morning or something? You were always on your way somewhere.
Talk shit.
Yeah, and what I liked about it, and what I still like about people like yourself, is the just reality. Let's just have some reality. Let's not have the bullshit. Let's hear the real story. Let's see the good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between. And I always found that that's what you were putting out there, hence why, you know, I'd watch your stuff. I think even a couple of times I left a few comments and stuff like that. So it's all cool. There's a bit of history there. I like it. Talk us through who Billy was as a child then. Let's sort of kick it off from the beginning.
Okay, so I like the fact that you're focusing on real and raw and authentic, because that's very important to me. Because the reality is the world's full of bullshit these days. It's full of people selling you the dream, trying to make things look like they're easier than they are, but it's bullshit. The reality is it's hard work. The dream is real, but it takes a bit of a different route to get there. And for me, growing up, I grew up in a housing scheme in Scotland, a place called Pollock. Basically, it could be summed up with drink, drugs, gangs. It was a very, very, very tough place to grow up. A lot of violence, a lot of trouble, and I was in the thick of it. That was my life. And good parents wanted me to come up right, but it's hard to escape that when you live in it. So it was a great sense of community, living in a place like that. You know, for example, when my dad's car got stolen, the local drug dealer helped us get it back, you know, so people looked after each other. But one thing that was really missing was a positive attitude towards anything beyond the housing scheme. You know, any chat about money or wealth or how much does someone earn or anything like that, you were cut right down. You didn't ask about money, and money was the number one thing that was argued about in my house, and yet it was the number one thing we didn't have. So growing up listening to all those kind of beliefs and attitudes and negative shit around money and success, I mean, I was never encouraged to go to university or college or anything. It was sticking at school, try not to fuck it up, maybe get a trade, you know, with the best of intentions. So it was a very boxed life, and there wasn't a great deal of possibility. But for me, I always wanted that wee bit more. And it started with a stereotypical entrepreneur story of a paper round and trying to make some money, and then selling tablet and sweets around the doors and all that sort of stuff. But there was always an attitude of, I want something different. I want something better for myself. And I don't know where it came from, but it stuck with me. And that took me right through to 2004 when I started in business. Because what happened was I hit my personal rock bottom. And this isn't a bullshit backstory, as they say. This is the reality of my life. I was drinking every single night, fighting in nightclubs, getting into all sorts of shit. And then the sales trainer in my work said to me, have you heard of Tony Robbins? And I said, no. He says, go and buy the guy's book. So I fucked my entire life up that night, big time. Went out the next day, walked away from my job, walked away from the people I knew, walked away from everything, got rid of my phone, went and bought a Tony Robbins book, and then he started sharing some things that just changed it for me. Two beliefs that he shared. One is that your past does not equal your future. And two is that if a thing is possible, it's within reach. And that was eye-opening for me because I'd never been told that. I'd always been led to believe you stay in your box and making money's no for people like us and success is no for people like us. But here's this guy telling me all the stuff that you've been through, the life you've lived, doesn't matter. Who you were yesterday is not relevant to the blank slate you've got today. And if a thing is possible, if other people have done it, why not you? So that really opened my eyes, and that was the start of it for me.
So when you got into business, like you say, there's this bit of a light bulb moment. We can't always put our finger on why it happens. Like I've had it as well, you know, you have that, I just want something more. Not overly sure what it is, but going along with the norm, I'm just not that comfortable with it. And I feel as though I'm someone that's willing to put myself in a position to find out, you know, explore something else. I think that's at the end of the day, that's what a lot of us are, is we're always asking questions, not wanting to just accept what we're told. When you start going into business, I remember what I would certainly call, when I was watching you, you know, many years ago, what looked like the height of your business career, you know, when things were flying high and stuff like this, and kind of just talk us through those peaks of business and how quickly things can change and what did change and ultimately what have you learnt from it as well? Okay,
so at the start, like I say, I had the bug for doing something different. And I believe that, you know, there's got to be policemen, firewomen, you know, all sorts of different people doing all sorts of different jobs. But I think that for certain folk, you wake up in the morning, you've got this natural inclination to do something different. And I think if you follow that, that's your purpose. That's where you're supposed to go. You're supposed to follow that gut feeling. So for me, I did, but I had no path in business. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I tried different things. I ventured into different areas. And I remember paying this life coach guy, and I got into a lot of debt trying to figure this stuff out because I didn't have the education. I was thrown out of school in fourth year, you know. Didn't know what I was doing, had no support, mentorship, and I borrowed money to go and start taking courses and learning from people. And I paid this life coach to help me find what I should be doing with myself. And he couldn't see a path for me, but it became very clear to me what I should be doing. See, I wasn't that passionate about any business in particular, but what I really loved was making other people's stuff work. And I thought, God, maybe marketing's the path for me. And then I attended a seminar in 2009 with an online marketing guy, fell in love with it and started to do really, really well. From there, you could pretty much say marketing has been the core of everything I do, and that's my company today. The main company is a very successful media company and branding agency. We've got a podcast studio, advertising division, branding side of the business, marketing, all of it, you know. But everything I've done over the years, whether it's been property or mortgages, outdoor advertising, whatever it is I've been involved in, it's been with this constant thread of marketing throughout. You know, and then there was obviously bringing Grant Cardone to the UK and doing the 10X tour. And that was good fun. But again, it all comes down to marketing. And that's where the passion's been for me. And to suggest that it's been easy at any point is bullshit. It's been hard work. A lot of peaks and troughs. A lot of difficult moments. A lot of moments where you think you're flying high and then life teaches you a few lessons.
Yeah.
You know?
And how important has the people around you been? Because that's something in business that, let's face it, there's a good and bad side to business and people who are around you, because greed is everywhere. Like greed, as you well know, will kill a deal. It will ruin a career. It can change the path that you're on. So there is very much two scales when it comes to business. We've all felt both. What is your experience of the good and the bad, the ugly of business.
In terms of people?
In terms of it all, but more so, yeah, certainly the people that are around you that can help you excel or perhaps change your path totally.
Yeah, well, I like to watch and listen and take things in and see what's going on. And that's one of the reasons I came off social media a few years ago. I'm coming back on now, but it's one of the reasons I came off, because when we were doing the Grant Cardone tour, I was surrounded by very influential characters, a lot of big names and big figures, and what I started to notice was that behind the camera, these people were just as fucked as everybody else. They were broken, a lot of them. You know, I was standing in an elevator with this guy, millions of followers, and, you know, he's high-fiving everybody on the way into the lift. And as soon as we get in, he just collapsed. And he's like, I'm fucking tired of this. I'm tired of all I do is work for you lot. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is the guy. And he's breaking down, you know. And then I started to just see that so many folk were out there portraying this idea of what success should look like. And I realised at the time that I was doing the similar kind of thing. I was putting across the best side of what was going on rather than the reality of it. And I just got so fucked off with it that I nuked a lot, come off Instagram, took a podcast down, come off LinkedIn, Facebook, all of it. I was fed up. What I should have done was change my focus and use the platform to help get that message out.
Yeah.
But I didn't. In terms of people through the years, a lot of people are cunts, let's be honest. Right? A lot of people are good as well. There's a lot of cunts out there. And unfortunately, I seem to have come across a lot of them. Yeah. And I think for the start, when you first start out in business, you've got your friends and family, your peer group. And it's very easy to say, you know, Dad, I've got this idea for a business. But your dad's a janitor, or your dad works in a call centre, or your dad's an insurance guy, your dad's not a business guy.
Yeah.
And yet that's the person you speak to about business. It's not the right audience. Right?
Tough conversation,
Like,
isn't it?
why
Yeah.
is it that the people who need to lose weight the most are the ones telling you should try this diet? You should fucking try it, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that people who have got the best thing to say in business have never done very well in business, right? It drives me nuts. So a lot of people will base your possibilities on their limitations. They'll base what's possible for you on where they've fucked it up, failed, or never even tried, right? And I think it's really important to tell people who are just getting started in business that if you are going into this game, get the right advice for the right people who have done it. With regards to family, let the people who it's directly going to influence know what you're doing, but it's your fucking life and you've got to live it for you, not for them. And you need to make your own mistakes, you need to learn your own lessons, and you need to take your own risks. And if your family don't like it, tough shit. Enroll the people in the vision. Let them know where you're going. Let your partner know, for example, that look, a few things are going to change, but we're tight and this is what I want for us, this is what I'm trying to do. Get the right people involved.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I don't engage with family about business. I don't get into it with people who don't know what they're talking about. And along the way as well, you're going to come across folk who try and pull you into different deals or try and sell you the dream or whatever. Like, you just need to get in with your eyes on them. You need to get very, very savvy, very quick if you're going to get into this game. You know, I'll give you an example. So, sorry, my partner, she is, she buys like kind of small hotels and refurbs them and this high-end serviced accommodation, right? And she's leaning into this world quite aggressively. She's been in property for years, but she's now leaning into this world quite aggressively. And she's like, this is unreal. Like, the amount of bullshit and backstabbing and people try to, you know, get one over on you. Not necessarily to hurt you, but because when it comes down to it, people will look after themselves. So I think you try and see the best in people, but, you know, keep your eyes wide open to what can happen and get savvy on the process.
Yeah, I think you learn to smell the bullshit. I mean, there's three things I want to pick apart. Don't want to forget these. One, you said, let's start from the beginning. One, you said about limitations. You can't, I really want to go over that for people watching, is that you can't let other people and their disbelief, insecurities, and their own limitations offload onto you, so you start believing that, because that's a very dangerous road to go down, is starting to absorb and take on other people's limitations, because there are too many opportunities to even think that limitation's even a thing. Can we fly? We can't fly, but there's so much that we can do. So that's a massive point I really want people to take away. The second thing that you said, we had the conversation earlier, we did our own podcast, Paul and I, and we were talking about don't talk to your parents about business. It's wasted conversation for both of you. It's wasted time. And in fact, if there's certain conversations that I talk about with my old dear, I know as soon as I bring them up, I'm only doing it to wind her up because I know there's no conversation there to be had. So I think, again, great point. And for anyone who's listening, is save your conversation for the people that get it, and just enjoy being around family, and save the business and the money conversation for someone else. And then you said about the people that you've been around, and that there are some dodgy people out there. The great thing about this, though, with entrepreneurship and business, unlike employment, when you go into employment, you're stuck with the people you got to work with. An employee can't fire another employee. Yep. But at least in our world in business, we can go, enough's enough. Yeah. You're not in my circle anymore. Definitely. We got to disconnect. How has the life of business, let's face it, it's very full on, isn't it? It's quite mentally and physically straining. We'll get into your physical transformation later. I think that's awesome. Is that it's very mentally wearing. How has that affected relationships? How's that affected home life? Because this is something people don't talk about. It's uncomfortable. They don't want to share the reality of it. Does put strain elsewhere.
It's a big subject. Very big subject. It's hard. I mean, I've got 4 daughters, all under the age of 10, and I've got a new partner, and I've got 2 cats and a dog, and I like my motorbikes, I like to train, I like to live my life, got a deep passion for doing cool shit and living life. You know, you've only got one shot and I want to live it. You know, trying to balance that when you've got several companies on the go at any one time and lots of different interests, it's hard work, mate. It's very, very hard work. And I think a really good way for me to deal with that is to compartmentalise things, to deal with the box I'm in at any one time. You know, so last night I was with my daughters and my partner, and when I was there, that was the only focus. Everything else didn't matter. Work, phone calls, nothing, out. I was with them. But then when that changes, right now we're here, my phone's not gone. You know, there's no distractions, it's just me and you talking. And I think interaction should be like that in general anyway. There's a serious lack of focus in people where, you know what it's like. You'll sit there and you'll be working away. You go on YouTube to find something out. 4 hours later, you're watching harmonica lessons and you're like, how the fuck did this happen? Right? So, like, I've got a wee sand timer on my desk. And when I turn that thing over, it's only 30 minutes. That's it. Whatever I'm working on that. So I like to work in boxes. It's like, right, family box, here we go. Business box, here we go. This company, that company, and just split everything. You know, you give me half an hour, I'll do my absolute utmost to get as much done in that half hour as possible. Show somebody else half an hour, they'll say, I'll just take a wee rest, and you know, and it's only half an hour. I deserve a break, you know. So, aye. How
have you found balancing multiple companies? You know, I can relate. We can both relate. It's heavy. It's busy. It's, you know, the clock doesn't stop for anyone. You know, well, let's put it this way. Like you said, unless you're sectioning off your timing, the clock never stops, does it? So you could be going 24 hours, 7 days a week. Let's face it. There's always something to do if you're running your own thing. What was the ugly version of that? And let's talk about the good version after. But what was so people can learn that side of, don't get too caught up in it, because it does have knock-on effects. I've felt it as well. Mm-hmm. I know that, you know, I've lost out on a lot of time I'm not going to get back, which I should have been focusing on things that were around me, and I didn't. So it's an uncomfortable conversation, but how do we switch off?
Switch off from business?
Yeah. How do we take in what's actually around us, like important things?
Still trying to figure that one out. So again, for me, it's just about compartmentalising things. It's about living in boxes, you know, and also just getting organised and being ahead of yourself. Like, for example, I know that I forget everything. There's too much on my mind, so I forget things day to day. There's a great little app called Brain Toss, right? Simple app, hit record, send yourself an audio note, send a wee written message or whatever. You know, if I wake up during the night and something's buzzing away, I'll literally write it down, send it, put it away, right? If I'm, you know, walking down the street, whatever, I'll just send myself these wee notes. And then every morning, I'll have my little routine where the first thing I do is I'll sit down at my computer and I'll look at the folder in my Gmail with all these Brain Toss notes, and I'll just process whatever I need to process, bin shit, action things, etc. You know, every day starts off with check the social, check the apps, check what's going on, respond to everything, and then put it to bed. You know, never answer live calls either. I don't answer calls on the phone. I'll get to my phone when I get to my phone. I've got a kind of don't need to know everything that's going on in the world kind of attitude as well, which can be seen as quite ignorant. But for me, it's like, be aware of the big things, but you don't need to know everything, you know, and not every cause is yours either. You stay focused on what matters to you and what's relevant to the impact you can make with the people that matter to you, your company, your staff, your family, etc. You know? Sorry, I forgot the question.
No, mate, you've answered it. You've answered it. And we've just sort of covered off that mental strain of it, the mental side of it, the impact of what that has. It's very, very busy. Like, I don't think we ever really switch off, do we? But then there's that flip side, there's a physical side to all of this. It's very full on in terms of, you know, we'll go and do something, and although we weren't physically lifting anything, it's just draining on your body, you know. Like, even today's a long day, it's going to be draining. So how do you cope physically with things, you know, like rest and recovery? You know, I'm a sucker for it. I don't really sleep a huge amount, not because I can't, but I just don't give myself the hours to sleep more than 4 or 5 hours. But do you find it important? I mean, I haven't really found a balance yet. Maybe I haven't had that wake up call, but is it important that you take time off? Are you taking weekends off? What kind of physical rest are you giving yourself?
Yes, I don't sleep much either. I know it's probably not the best thing for me, but, you know, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I've got shit to do, you know. I've got a pact with myself that I need to train every day. You obviously mentioned the weight loss thing. So this time, a year and a half ago, I was about 5.5 stone heavier than I am right now. Very overweight, looked like Santa, the big beard and all that. Just unhappy, out of shape, feeling shitty about myself, about life, no energy, all the usual stuff, you know. At that point, I signed up with a personal trainer, and the goal was never to be perfect. The goal was just to make progress. It was to look after myself. And this is another wee thing in terms of balance and time management. So some folk will try and squeeze the gym in at the start of the day. I think you've got to do anything you do in your business or your life at a time that actually works. So for me, I'll always train every day at 4 or 5 o'clock. And the reason I do it is because by that point in the day, I've ate a lot of food, so I've got more in the tank to be able to lift. And it breaks things up from work life to personal life. So if I start my day earlier and then I work through, get right into it, 4 or 5 o'clock comes, off to the gym, get lifting. See that hour for me, listen to some heavy shit, good music, lifting weights, having a bit of chat with other guys, you know, a bit of downtime, get the testosterone up, get the motivation going, feel good about myself, feel like I've achieved something in that moment. There's a lot of things in life we don't necessarily feel we've got control over all the time, but I know that if I'm looking at that weight, that I've got control over what I do here. I can lift that, or I can work towards lifting that. So that's one area of my life where I feel absolutely in control. So I do that at 4 or 5 o'clock every day, give myself a bit of mental peace, and then see when I leave, then I'm recovered, I'm rested, my mind's calm, you know, I'm not carrying the weight of work and business, and then I can go back to my personal life and really switch off for the work. But if I just leave work and go straight back to my family, they're not getting the best of me, they're getting what's left of me.
Yeah, because you're still on the go. I have to admit, if I'm honest with myself, at the moment, probably, well, I say at the moment, I would, in fact, maybe it's something I'll do after this. I would like to switch my morning routine for the evening training, because I totally agree. I am a massive believer in what you just said. You are far more switched off once you've trained in the you've trained in the evening. You have a better session anyway. I'm totally aligned when you say, when you know, you've got food in you, you've got fuel, you lift heavier, you burn fat a lot quicker, you just got a lot more energy about you. And then, it's almost, you've almost got that hour and a half to switch off in the gym. It's that wind down time. Whereas, like you just said, if you're going straight from work home, it's like when you've been to a nightclub. You know, when you leave a nightclub and you lay in bed and you still got that boom, 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 boom. It's like you're still there, you know. Paul normally makes the shapes during the night. Not that I know that.
See, we're talking about that as well. Like, it's important as well during your day to try and get wee moments in for yourself. Like, just nipping out for a 20-minute walk around the block. just going to get a bit of alone time. In our offices in Glasgow, we've just put in a meditation room and calling it the Zen Den, right? And the idea behind the Zen Den is if people want to pray, they can pray. If they want to do some yoga, they can do yoga. If they want to stretch, they can stretch. Meditate. If you want to go in and put headphones on and just lose yourself for 20 minutes, go for it. I say 20 minutes. I take 20 minutes. The staff are allowed 15 a day. So that's it. 15 minutes a day, unquestioned, to go in, shut that door, nobody disturbs them. Because you need that sometimes, just to reset.
Yeah.
A lot of folk will sedate, So, like, things get hard. What do people do? They sedate by, alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever. They'll try, or gaming, they'll try and escape what's going on in their life. But the problem is when you go and escape the shit in your life, you come back, you've still got the same shit in your life and you've not moved any further forward. Mm-hmm. So for me, what I try and do most of the time is if stuff is going on, if things are getting hard, I'll try and go and shut my eyes for 20 minutes and meditate, do a wee bit of visualisation, go for a walk, get a fast-paced walk in, anything to get a bit of fresh perspective on what's going on, to reset my mind and to generally look after myself so that when I get back to the problem, I've actually maybe thought about it a little bit, or I come back to it in a better state to be able to handle it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's a smart way of moving forward, but then the problem is making that mass change for companies, businesses to go and do little things like that. Mm-hmm. We're still stuck in a very old industrial age where that would not be okay in most places. Mm-hmm. Like most corporate places are not okay with that. A question I often get asked, well, I wouldn't say it's a question, a comment. No, it's a / comment. On some of my videos that went viral, especially around the employment stuff, the comment off the back of it was normally, well, is that how you would build a business, treat your staff, stuff like that? And it's so funny because they're not seeing the bigger picture. I'm highlighting a problem in corporate world where they don't do things like this, and they're not changing things to allow people to have the headspace to to increase productivity. The whole point of me addressing this problem is that in building a business and taking on team members is to change that, is not to go down the things that I'm moaning about and saying it's wrong. And it baffles me to think that people can't see that what I'm talking about is I'm addressing the issue, but then going forward and building something is to change the problem. So, and I think doing things like that, I know that Paul, your working space, you have these little pods where you can go play chess and stuff like that, or whatever it is you do. But, it's almost like that refresher, isn't it? And then what you're going to get out your employees. Do you know, just quickly, I'm about to listen to a new book by Gary Vee, and he said most corporate places have generated a feeling of fear. So therefore, they're not maximising on productivity because their employees are scared. There's bullying. Yeah. There's control by senior leadership. There's a feeling of if you speak out, there'll be consequences. Yeah. Yet if you create a feeling of happiness and value and respect, you're going to get maximum effort out of everyone.
For me in the workplace, I mean, we have very healthy debates about mental health. I mean, the other day I went in and I was just talking to a group of the guys in the office about mental health, and we had a really open conversation. I think creating that kind of environment where people can feel safe to speak their mind, where people can feel safe to challenge each other, to fail, to share ideas, to learn for the people around about them. When you create that kind of culture, you create something beautiful,
Yeah.
But also balancing it with not taking people's bullshit,
Totally
I don't stand for it.
No, I think there is a balance. Do you know, one of the best comments I saw come up, and when this is eventually cut up, I will try and find the person who originally said this comment. But this is so nail on the head, so wait for this one. On one of my employment videos, someone put one of the biggest and most luring comments in the corporate world, which is so backwards, is when a manager says, "My door is always open, you can talk to me."
Aye.
That is one of the most dangerous comments. Do you know why that is? Because that's full corruption. And they're waiting to get you out, because the person that walks through that door feeling comfortable and thinking, I can speak my mind and say what the problem is, and say that I've got a problem with this manager or someone higher up, what it is it's documentation of saying, okay, we'll help you, but now you've alerted me that you are the problem, we need to squash you. And human resources, which is apparently meant to work for all you employees, it's not. We've got to protect the company now, and you've just announced that you're the problem, but my door's always open when you want to talk.
Cards are marked.
cards are marked. That's a viral one. I don't know. I felt that was a viral one. That was, mate, that is so, is that not true? I've felt it before. So many people that my door is always open you don't walk through that door. That's the message. Do not walk through that door.
There's a big difference between what you say to someone like that and actually having a culture where people understand it. You know, one of my guys the other day, David, he's a designer and he was working on some projects and he was feeling a bit low. And I said to the guy, I was like, what's up? And he says, I just keep messing things up. I said, good. Keep messing it up. Keep making mistakes, because with what you're doing, every mistake you make, you're getting closer to getting it right. You know? So keep doing it. And I done that for everybody here, and I want them to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to mess about forever and keep making the same mistake. But like, mess things up. Talk to us, be open, share your dramas.
Yeah.
I would rather people came to me and says, Billy, I can't do this thing that you've asked me to do, than give me the expectation that they can and then let me down.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
but that's
different kind
good.
of thinking.
Yeah, but do you know what? That's a really good trait to have. That's compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
Most workplaces don't have compassion and empathy. And what bugs me is that initial grinding on someone and getting on someone's back when they haven't performed, instead of asking, hey, look, you're not normally like this. What's up? Can I help? You know, yeah, my mum's just died, or, you know, this has happened, or something. You know, some people live lives, and just to step into that world and not show any compassion or empathy is the quickest way to people wanting to leave. Hence going back to this whole fear in a workplace, fear of losing the job, fear of underperforming, fear of not being able to step into this so-called room of my door is always open. And I think having compassion and empathy in a workplace is going to lead to success for everyone, for you as the business owner, for people involved. It's going to be a nice workplace. I think in business, that's the way that it needs to go.
Absolutely. With
marketing, such a big part. Let's just finish on marketing. What's the vision for Billy going forward using marketing? Because we've got a lot of tools at our fingertips right now. It's quite, I find it exciting.
Mm-hmm. So for me, the one thing I know inside out is how to get business, how to make a business work, right? In terms of bringing in business. Now, there's other things that can cause a business not to work or to fail. But when you know how to do your marketing and you've got it right, and you're constantly learning and testing and measuring and improving and all the rest of it, when you're doing that, you've got such a better chance at making anything you get involved in a success, right? In terms of the lead flow side of things, like I said, there's another side entirely, right? For me, what I'm doing these days is I've got my media company, TMD, which is the big focus right now. But as well as taking on lots of clients for lots of different purposes, my focus is to back the right horses. So I've got folk coming to me with different ideas. They've got the knowledge of their industry and their business and what they want to achieve. I've got the resources, the team, the capability, the strategy, the knowledge. So, you know, I'm just getting myself involved in different ventures now, where I can get involved in other people's companies.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Huge. That's the exciting thing about marketing, is there's so much opportunity. And if you know how to, I would say those are the key traits right now, marketing and sales. If you can nail those two, a lot of businesses can thrive. What would be your, as we sort of come to a close, for people watching this, what would be your sort of top tips for people to stay, one, consistent through this journey? Because this is going to be an up and down, right, in personal life and professional life. It's both come hand in hand, but to stay very consistent and mentally sane along the journey of business and entrepreneurship.
So I think that mindset is key. Mindset is everything in business and in life. You know, like, if you catch me listening to a podcast or an audiobook, it's generally not something that teaches me anything. It's generally something that helps me level up my thinking and my mindset and helps me handle life's dramas, because life will always serve you drama. It'll always try and uppercut you or swipe the feet away for you, and you don't see it coming. Business is the same. Why do so many people fail? Look, two people can start a business at the same time. They come across the same problem. One of them takes that problem and adopts the belief that I live by, which is life happens for me, not to me. No matter what happens, it's for my benefit. It's there to teach me something, to help me level up, to grow. So I'll take whatever comes and I'll use that to get to the next level. Other folk will take the same thing and they'll be pissed off that there's problems, that there's challenges, rather than accepting that that's what business is. We are professional problem solvers. We're there to fix dramas, to fix problems. And if you learn how to level up your mindset, because that's where it all comes from, you're able to get through that. You're able to go to the next level. Whereas the folk who don't, they're taking out the game. And then what happens is a lot of people, if they try again, they do it a bit quieter next time. And many folk end up becoming bitter and pissed off and frustrated that this business thing doesn't work. Maybe it's not for people like me. Maybe all the shit my dad told me growing up was real, you know. So for me, it's about leveling up your mindset, for sure. Always taking in more content for successful people, listening to these stories, learning for the greats. I mean, look, we were having a joke earlier on about, you know, Beverly Hills, real estate and housewives and all the rest of it. And listen, that's great for distraction. I love to switch off at lunchtime and just watch some absolute shit to distract myself, you know, and reset a little bit. But now I've lost my train of thought. As I said, no.
Mate, you answered it on a good one, is that mindset's at the key of all of it. And just staying on path. And like I say, if you have a bit of a setback.
I done a Joe Biden there. Totally forgot what I was talking about.
Well, that's how we're going to introduce you now. We're going to call you Biden.
Please don't. Please don't.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, we've covered off a hell of a lot, and there's a lot of value that we've shared there. And I know a lot of people are going to take away from it, because I think what we've covered off is we haven't beaten around the bush. We've said it as it is, and there's a lot of value. And I'm pleased to have finally got you onto the channel.
Absolutely.
So, mate, where can people reach out and connect with you?
Downtobusiness.net. Go there, check it out. It's a daily feed which gives people real, raw, authentic business advice. No frills.
Awesome.
The real stuff.
Well, it'll all be in the link. We'll pop it up on the screen. We'll do all that. And for everyone who has watched, thanks so much. And we will see you all very soon.